Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Hardwood Nation podcast with your boy, C.O. Anthony, my second favorite white boy in the world, my friends, and Kobe Bean. What's going on, fellas?
What's happening?
What a beautiful morning, bro.
Absolutely. So, as always, we got some shit to get into. Thursday morning, I couldn't sleep. I woke up around 4 or something, and then I get a notification that Pablo Torre finds out as a new episode. So I'm like, okay, well, I'm up. Let me click on this shit and see what's going on. To my delightful surprise, it was a continuation of the prior week's episode that we broke down. I'm going to throw it to Pat first. Pat, did you know who Dennis Wong was before I sent you the link?
No, I did not. But I quickly found out who he was after I saw that episode of Pablo. I sure did. Man. Yeah. I don't know. Where would you like me to start?
Wherever you want, shit.
Okay, these are billionaires we're talking about here. You would think they would have more what's the couth, or they would be more strategic in covering up their bullshit, bro. This is crazy to have that much money to go to Harvard and not have like common sense. David, what's his name? Dennis Wong. So he's the only other owner on the Clippers, right? He has like a 1% share in the team. He was his college roommate. His daughter worked for affiliation, whatever it's called. What was the name of the fraudulent company?
Aspiration. She worked for the business.
He gives them. Okay, they were late on paying Kawhi, right? They were supposed to pay Kawhi in, I don't know, September.
They're like 2 months late.
They were 2 months behind. $1.75 million was the payment. He coincidentally around that time donates $1.9 million to the company. What? Like, bro, like, I don't know, bro. Like, if Grady Judd was on the case, he could have figured this shit out, bro. Like, Scooby-Doo was on the case. He could have figured this shit out, bro. Like, these are idiots. And another thing that stuck out to me, let's say he's I want to make this point because it's a green company and all this shit. They say bro is a big donor, to the he's a conservative donor. So that party shit don't matter when it comes to this big money shit. It's about money. It's not about your party affiliation. So I wanted to make that point, and that's what stuck out to me the most. But go ahead.
So Wong is a conservative?
Yes, what's his name? Pablo said he's a large donor to a conservative think tank. Yeah.
Got it. I missed that. Okay. Mm-hmm. So, Mike, as far as the second part of this already ridiculous story, your thoughts?
My first thought is actually towards Pablo, and it's like this man has brought so much circumstantial evidence, and everybody completely is turning it away. Like Steve Ballmer turned him down, Adam Silver turned him down. Like the way that they're approaching their positions and what they're trying to defend. And like in Adam Silver's case, it's like what's going to happen next is that like all the information is right there. Like Pat just said, like Scooby-Doo could figure this out. Like it's right there. Like it's blatant. And you want to sit there and still try and act like this is nothing. Like Pablo didn't do a great job. Like in all honesty, I mean, I think for exposing something like this, I mean, this is a crazy topic, and it's got a lot of fact to it. And my question is, how can you act like it's nothing? You know, so kudos to Pablo for doing all this and making sure that it's accurate.
Right.
Now, as far as the actual story goes, like when we were talking about it, I found it very odd that these guys use Silicon Valley Bank. I think that's kind of an odd player in the whole game as well. When you're sitting here talking about bankrupt banks, bankrupt businesses, and all the money that was flowing through it, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh, we're closing up shop. I can't help but feel like there's something involved with that portion of it. So like this thing might be even deeper than what Pablo's even reporting on. The connections with Dennis Wong, it's blatant. His daughter, like, it's funny. I was watching, maybe it was that actual, like, through that whole episode, they were saying, like, as much money as Dennis Wong has, he didn't need to save his daughter's job, but yet that was his excuse.
He just gave her $2 million.
Right. She doesn't need to work. What are we talking about here? Like, this guy's got bread. So I don't. It's so mind blowing, and for me, I'm laughing at it when I'm watching this. Like, I was driving around the other day while I was listening to the second one, and I'm like, okay, one thing after another. First of all, this minority owner, this 1% owner, actually is involved. You can't tell me that this stuff is like, you really can't, when all the players in the game and all the facts are coming out, you can't tell me that one hand didn't know what the other hand was doing. You can't. It's just, like I said, it's so blatant. It's crazy.
So, Pat, we shifted from Uncle Dennis to Dennis Wong. Between the two of them, which one do you think could possibly take the fall to cover this thing up for Ballmer?
I think it's Dennis Wong now because he's so close to Ballmer. They may still try to put it on Uncle Dennis, but bro, these people are idiots. That's what I want to get back to. They're idiots, bro. They have this much money and power and influence, and to not cover your tracks. You just watch an episode of Law and Order or something, bro. Like, like, come on, this is ridiculous, man. Yes, his closeness to Ballmer is, I mean, it's undeniable. You had the groundbreaking ceremony, standing like 5 feet away from Kawhi. You're sitting courtside with him next to Obama and shit. Like, that shit is crazy. And I wonder what their relationship is. That's what I want to know. Like, why are they so close? He was his roommate in college.
And Bill Gates. They were all friends.
That shit is weird, bro. Like, it's so much that we have yet. I think he's going to find out, like, some sexual deviant shit. God, bro, that's weird. That's a weird relationship. He's the only co-owner of this trash ass organization. That shit is crazy, bro. I just have negative things to say about this shit. This shit is stupid, bro. Now, I'm jealous because I wish I was a billionaire, and I'm a little bit smarter than that. I think a little bit. That shit is, I don't know, bro. I have nothing intelligent to say about this dumbass shit this morning.
So,
yeah.
You're good. Mike, so with certain writers, like you mentioned earlier, Adam Silver, Steve Ballmer, trying to act like this is not a story. Pablo even said, look, it's just me, Dan, and the lawyer up against this huge machine. How do you feel about the campaign to discredit him? Like, Pablo stuck his neck out. He could kind of sort of put his career on the line, but he does have a parachute with Metal Art Media. But what do you think about the other writers trying to discredit him?
I mean, if that can go a few different ways. Either these guys are trying to turn away what he's done because they didn't do it, right? There could be, a envious factor involved in that. Because let's be honest, this story breaks out the way that it did, and the accuracy of it, and just like you can see in Pat's reaction, this thing is just so ridiculous. It's so ridiculous, right? And it's like with the fact that goes along with it, and the magnitude of it, anybody would have loved this story, but Pablo's the one that got to it first, right? The other aspect is like, are they afraid to go against this juggernaut called the NBA, right? So there's fear involved. There could be fear, there could be envy that's involved in all of it. For me, I have to go the route that I feel like they're trying to discredit him in many ways, just in the sense of like to make him look bad, because it could really do something. It could do some huge damage. What was it? Adam Silver, he was talking about like the length of the repercussions that he could actually ensue on this thing, and it could be very dangerous for the Clippers. So that's when for me, when you see something like this, where there's just a certain group, and it's like trying to discredit it as much as possible. To me, there's got to be some truth to it, because in that case, the ones trying to discredit it are fearful of what could happen.
Mm-hmm.
So when you take that emotion and that fear and emotion into context, these guys are afraid of really what could end up happening. So what do? You discredit the most credible source that you can.
Yeah.
That's your strategy.
Mm-hmm.
Before I ask you this next question, Pat, I do want to bring up something that Bryce brought up to me, which I didn't see, but he saw it, because I don't be on Twitter like that, man. I don't have the energy. I just don't. But Bryce said some people on Twitter made a correlation to late payments from aspiration to Kawhi coincided with load management with Kawhi. And as soon as one of those payments came in, then miraculously Kawhi started playing again. Look at that.
Yeah.
That's a conspiracy theory I'm behind right there. I like that one. That sounds
so. Mike, did you see that? Did you see that in the Twitter streets?
I absolutely did, and this goes to what we talked about last week, when I was like, you can't tell me Kawhi didn't know a lot. Like he can't act like nothing. He didn't know anything, right? You can't act like he didn't know anything. He's the recipient of the money, so he's got a hand in this no matter what. And that kind of, to me, like when you put those puzzle pieces together, is it provable? It might be a long shot, as far as making it provable. The timeline is there. We can all see and kind of put the puzzle pieces together, but prove that in a court of law, and it's going to be difficult.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's like when you put the puzzle pieces together and they fit, it still makes the same picture. He's got to take some form of responsibility for this, and that just for me solidifies even more.
All right, Pat. I hit you with one.
That's amazing. That's a great conspiracy theory right there. If they could line up the load management when the actual payments were due, man, I would be all in on that one.
I'm glad to dig into that one a little more. But like I said, Bryce told me about that the other day, and like I told him, I'm definitely gonna have to look into it. So yesterday, another story broke that Ballmer gave another $10 million to the failing fraudulent company. As of this recording, no one knows why, but no one knows why any of this happened to begin with. So I know, Pat, you shot that to me. What do you think about this extra $10 million?
That solidified how stupid Ballmer is, if this story is true, to invest I think at this point they were already, hemorrhaging money and laying off people from the company. For him to invest an additional $10 million of his money at this point, it's just like, are you bored, bro? I know you're a billionaire, so 10 million is like $10 to you, but that shit is. All I have to say is it's crazy, bro. People with way less money make better decisions than that. I tend to not like. I'm very direct in my communication, so that's why I just go straight to it. That shit is dumb, bro. To you know, I don't know. I'm just frustrated with his decisions, even though they don't affect me personally. It's just how can you make that much money and be that successful and operate like a teenager? It's just you're looking out for your buddies and their kids, and might be low key or no, I ain't even gonna say that. But anyway, shit is I don't know. Once again, I have nothing intelligent to say or to add to this discussion. I just want to point out how stupid billionaires are, bro. They're human beings just like the rest of us. And it's amazing. I wish I was a sociologist. I could break it down on a more intellectual level, but that's what I have to add to that, sir. They're fucking they're stupid. Yes, there you go.
Well, is it the fact that they're stupid, or did they panic? Because when you have a bad investment like this from somebody who has a track record of making good investments to get where he's at, it's almost like, like, to me, if they're facing bankruptcy as a business, and you've got a payment that comes in for an extra almost $2 million, that majority of it all went to Kawhi Leonard. And at the same time that happened, that's when everybody got laid off. When you have a form of another form of investment, when when a business is failing, it months ahead of time.
Yeah.
Right? So when you sit there and it's like, okay, I'm going to throw this bone of $2 million, then I'm going to throw this bone of an extra $10 million. I feel like that's because the magnitude of what has come out was seen. So maybe they're not as stupid and they're smarter than what we're giving, but this was a panic move because of the fact of, if this business goes down and this deal goes down, then it's going to open up the can of worms. Like, they may have seen that this opportunity for Pablo that he exposed was right there, and the writing was on the wall for it the whole time.
Well, and that takes me back to something Cuban said, and I know he just threw a number out there because he didn't know the specifics, but like Cuban said, if it was me, I just would have paid a certain amount of money to make this all go away, which means he would have just put the money in to save the company, the fraudulent company to begin with. Ballmer has enough equity where he could have did that. So why do you think he didn't?
You asking me?
Yeah.
Well, it could be a multitude of different things. One of the things that you and I had talked about in text, I was curious for, is the conflict of interest portion. Right? So at that point, it's almost like, okay, if there's a conflict of interest of putting in your personal money to pay for a player, then to try and circumvent the salary cap, you're going to lose one of two ways. You're increasing your odds of getting in trouble for something by keeping it at one illegal item. Not to say that paying with your personal money is illegal. I mean, that's when we were talking about that, I wasn't sure what that conflict of interest is. But as you still go along those lines, like, I would feel like, as a conflict of interest, that would be something that you can't do. Because at that point, not every owner has the money to do what Steve Ballmer can do.
Right.
So if that's the case, to me, that's something that would be illegal. Paying somebody out of your own pocket to, extra money to say, okay, well, under the Clippers contract, this, that, and the other, this is what you're going to get paid. But, as Steve Ballmer, because I can afford it, I'm going to throw in some extra money, right? So you got to find a loophole to do something with that. And by increasing your odds of getting in trouble for something like that, I personally feel like they were like, hey, you know what? We just need to stick to this one thing, right? So it could have went into that area of conflict of interest, and at that point he would have just been in trouble even more. So by utilizing and saying, like Mark Cuban said, I'll just pay it off to have that done, you're opening up a can of worms to make the consequences even worse. Like you're digging your hole deeper by doing something like that, and I feel like that's probably something that might have been viewed as well. Like when they're looking at all options on the table, hey, you know what? We just got to go with what we got to go with because, the consequences are going to be as bad as they are anyway. That's why I say, like, I feel like this was more of a smart move because it was out of panic. Like these guys are smarter than what we might even be giving them credit for, but the whole situation is dumb.
As I as I said on last week's episode, all Kawhi had to do was film a goddamn commercial, send out a few tweets, and then the validity of that extra $28 million contract, you couldn't question it because he at least did something to endorse the company. So, Pat, knowing that, do you think it was arrogance on Kawhi's team to where they just thought they would never have to do anything because they would never get caught? Or what?
It's possible. He did have a clause in the contract that stated that if it went against his personal beliefs, he didn't have to do it. So it kind of covered the fact that he didn't have to do anything basically to receive the payments from the contract. He was only obligated to do a couple likes, comments, and a share in a video, like you said. But if it went, all he had to do is use his broad term of going against his personal beliefs in order to get out of it. So I don't know. I can't really pinpoint and say it was arrogance. It just, I don't know. Maybe he looked at it like his side money, like he didn't really care about the particulars of this. They probably have multiple contracts with other businesses like this, So it's like whatever. I'm going to get my 1.7 million every three months or so, Like whatever. I don't really care about this. So it could have been something like that. I don't know.
I mean, he did the New Balance commercial for, that $5 million a year contract. And then you got a company giving you $7 million a year. You do absolutely nothing. So just like, make it make sense.
I mean, that's not a big difference between 5 and 7 million. So I don't know if he would. Is he reading all his contracts that thoroughly? I mean, I don't know. Is he just playing basketball? I don't know. A lot of these guys, I'm not saying that it's Kawhi, but a lot of these guys go broke after 6 years or whatever. We saw the
from the retire.
We saw the 30 for 30. Yeah. So we don't. Are they reading these contracts? Who's managing their money? Who's managing their finances? Who's giving them advice, legal advice? If it's Uncle Dennis, then bro, we're not even. I don't know if it's qualifications. Let me not say that. Mark Cuban said he's an excellent negotiator, so I'm going to give him that credit. But I don't know. You never know, man. I wish I'm giving him the benefit of the doubt that he didn't know too much about it. He just signed the papers when they put it in front of him and went about his life.
You sounded like the NBA defending Ballmer.
He knew he knew what it was about, though. I'm sure somebody explained it to him, like, okay, we won't be able to pay you, everything, but we'll give you this little side deal here. You'll get this money that we'll pay you quarterly. You'll be straight. Just come on to LA. The biggest take, though, I want to take from this is Jeannie Buss. Thank you for not signing this guy to the squad, okay? Because if this is what it took to get him there, maybe we would have went with another non-fraudulent business. But the business they did in this situation was stupid. And this is the chickens have come home to roost, my guy. It is over for them. So, God, we are not that dumb.
So that takes us. Oh, go ahead, Mike. I'm sorry.
It's a good point that you make when you say, Jeannie Buss not taking the deal, because I feel like arrogance is floating around this whole situation, right? Because Toronto also, they were like, you're crazy with the negotiating terms that they were asking for, special Uncle Dennis. So when you talk about situations like this and throwing Kawhi into the spotlight for it, sometimes it be your own. You know what I mean? And when you talk about the team that Kawhi has, it could have been that, that this was this was all planned as far as how to get paid. And it's like, yo, you got to take this deal. Let's go to the Clippers. Let's get this bread, right? Regardless of what the consequences could have been. So, I would kind of link the whole request, like when it stands out for me, is like the request to own part of the Toronto Maple Leafs, right? Why? Like, what are we talking about here? This is an NBA contract. Like, to go that step further, that's pushing the envelope, right? Try and get as much as you can. And then, like, okay, if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. Nah, you decided at that point that, I'm being assumptive. I will admit this, but when you're listening to your team, I can't put it past it. It's like, hey, take this extra bread from the Clippers and go there, even because we didn't get the money from Toronto for this. We didn't get the opportunity to own part of the Maple Leafs, right? So and to me, that arrogance revolves around that. So when you see two teams like the Lakers and even the Raptors turn away this player and not want to, fulfill all the requests, got to ask yourself why. And when Steve Ballmer says, okay, let's go ahead, and then he goes to the Clippers and this deal comes out, I can't help but say arrogance drove this whole thing. On
whose part, though? Kawhi or Ballmer?
Ballmer's for the most part, because Ballmer wasn't necessarily afraid of what the consequences could have been, not realizing or knowing that aspiration was going to go bankrupt, because it might have been one of those things where it's like, hey, we'll keep you afloat as much as need be. And that's where these extra payments come in. Right. So that it's all there. Like, when, like I said, when when running a business, how bad it's going to get, but can you help keep it afloat? We can do whatever we can, but the timing of it was so bad. Like, it was all in a rush. And that's when things go haywire. If you have time to strategically plan when you can help a business stay afloat or fund it, like in this case, hey, you know what? What if Steve Ballmer just used this whole thing as a scapegoat to get Kawhi extra money, and that was the whole goal of this business, period? Then, I mean, that's kind of opening up a can of worms, though. Like, assuming that's what it was, but he was the biggest investor in it. So I can't help but feel like it could have all been part of the plan, So the arrogance of not worrying about at the time what the consequences could be until the panic ensues. And then to go on ESPN the way that he did, like, he completely discredited Pablo for one. He talked about how we always follow the rules, right? Like
That's a
everything
lie.
that he said on ESPN. You want to discredit Pablo, bro? Your interview is completely discredited. It's trash. Like the more and more that's coming out, it's more and more. It's bad. It's bad. Like that. You throw it back to that emergency interview that he had with Ramona Shelburne, and everything that came out of his mouth was a lie. Everything. So I think the arrogance is shared though, because there not only has to be someone willing to give, but there has to be somebody willing to receive, and that representative in that sense was Uncle Dennis, right? So in that case, I think like they're still going to use him to a point as a scapegoat on Kawhi's side. The business side is probably going to be now Dennis Wong, but all these players at this table for this situation, all the players in this game, they all knew what was going on. Like you can't tell me. It's so ugly, and the details are so blatant that you can't tell me. Like when you say it's so stupid, I agree with you 100,000,000%. But it's so stupid that you can't tell me that they didn't know.
Yeah.
I think it just exposes. I think it exposes a larger picture here. This is just one window into this side of their world.
Mm-hmm.
And what I mean by that is these type of deals probably happen all the time,
Mm-hmm.
and we're just made aware of this because of their lack of covering their ass. The business failing allowed a sequence of events to get us to this point where we know about it.
Mm-hmm.
So as y'all speaking, I'm thinking about like individual aspects of this, like even the basis of this company aspiration is to make money from people just living their ordinary lives. You're flying planes or you're traveling on a bus, whatever. You're trying to counterbalance carbon emissions, and you're making money from that. Like, tell me how that makes sense to you guys. I don't know. Maybe y'all are smarter than me.
Well, no,
How does that?
I didn't mean to cut you.
Like, no, you good. But I don't understand how you can produce money, like actual money, from just existing. You have to have like a resource or an asset or something. It's just somebody should have been able to recognize that it's like a pyramid scheme. Like this is fraudulent. And these people are very intelligent. These business owners who are involving themselves in this. Politicians, like there's politicians involved, and it's all kind of shit that I am seeing outside of this just circumvention of the salary cap. And it's, greed corrupts, bro. You're talking billions of dollars here. These guys, Ibrahim and what's his name? Joe Sandberg. I think that's their names.
Yeah.
It's so much bigger than the 28 mil, the circumvention, in my opinion. It's so much bigger than that. And they didn't do the right thing to cover their ass so we wouldn't know about this. But this is just one story probably amongst millions that have happened, not millions, but thousands that have happened all over the years to get for these business owners to get what they want. At the end of the day, what I'm saying is they're just trying to make money and acquire more wealth. And they didn't cover their ass, and now we know about it.
No, the company was fraudulent to begin with. So when you're running a Ponzi scheme like that, even though you have employees and executives and things like that, when you start off with the idea to run a Ponzi scheme, it's only a few people that know that this is bullshit to begin with. Okay, So they didn't generate any revenue outside of the donations that they were getting from Bomb or from these celebrities and shit like that, right? You know what I'm saying? So that's when some of the financial team was like, hey, wait a minute. So the money's not adding up. We're losing money. And that's when they, I'm not going to say switched out, but that's when they started reporting things to the SEC, which started the investigation into what was going on with the company. So the company was bullshit from the start. I do want to say this. Adam Silver did have a little presser at the Board of Governors meeting, but this was the day before Pablo dropped the Dennis Wong bomb, okay? Now, and me and Bryce was talking offline about this. I think this is the most important thing that Adam Silver has ever had to do. And the only reason why I say that is the Donald Sterling thing, as horrible as it was, that was easy. That was an easy punishment to come down with. Mm-hmm. With this one, if he doesn't nuke that team, if he doesn't nuke this team, I think I'm done with the NBA. I'm gonna throw it to Mike first. Like, as far as what's the term I'm looking for? Lord, it's too early. Integrity of the game. He has to nuke the team.
Well, I agree. This could be, if he doesn't do the right thing, he's going to dig himself in a hole from the public perspective that actually understands what's going on, like us as fans, right? We're not only analysts, but we're also fans. We all love the game, right? So for those that pay attention to this and the magnitude of what it could do, what it represents, and it's almost like a slap in the face to us if you don't go as far as maximum penalty, because you've got to set an example for something like this. Because there's a couple points that I want to make here. Like Pat said, it got down to us, and we know what we know publicly, right? So up above, there's a lot of stuff that we probably don't know. And I think that you and I talked about this at the very beginning, when I even threw this out as like a random, right? A random thought, because this also doesn't make sense to me. It's like, we talk about the WNBA, right? You can't tell me that a failing business like the WNBA, right? The WNBA itself is in the red all the time, but yet these girls are sitting here saying, pay me more, pay me more, pay me more. Do they know something that we don't? Right? Do those team owners know something that we don't? Because the NBA contributes to the WNBA of staying afloat. But yet these girls can sit here and scream, pay us what you owe us. What do they possibly know? Like, this is how far you can think. Because like anything, when there's so much that we don't know that's up above, because this is, once it comes down to us, it's minimal. There's so much up above that goes on, and so much dirtiness that we don't have any idea for. Maybe we don't understand it. We're not in the position to understand it, but we're also in the position where it could expose a lot of negative that makes the league look bad. That once it gets down to us, it makes me curious all the way at the top. Like, hey, how far does this actually go? We talked about it last week when I said, when an arena gets built, all those owners have to be aware of what's going on. So if this company that's a fraudulent company is contributing to the arena, how do they not know what's going on, right? How do they, like, there has to be vetting that goes along with this to a point to where exposure to multiple parties is there. And then at that point, it's like, okay, how do I make myself clean of the situation? Because it's like, I would rather not know, but I have to know. So, it's like, I kind of just look at this like if I were in those seats, hey, do what you do as long as it doesn't fall back on me, right? And I feel like that goes on a lot more than what we're probably understanding. So this could define Adam Silver's career as the NBA commissioner from a fan perspective. The ones that really dive into it, like you said, to hear you say that you're done with the NBA if it doesn't come down with nuking the team, that's huge. I mean, look at the name of the podcast, the Hardwood Nation. It's got a basketball on it. It's driven completely about basketball. That speaks to your level of fandom, that it's so important to you. The sport is so important to you that you get individuals together to talk about this topic of the NBA. Any of the news that comes out, any ideas, any personal fan stuff that we talk about, the fun stuff that we have, you have a love for the game. We all have a love for the game. So to hear something like, hey, I'm going to be done with it, that's huge, in my opinion. And that's your voice. Think of how many other individuals that are out there that could feel the same exact way, So, and as far as integrity goes, he's got one shot. He's got one shot at this right now. Otherwise, he's going to lose a chunk of support from the fan side.
Pat, what are your thoughts on the pressure on Adam Silver to do the right thing versus the wrong thing?
There's absolute pressure to do the right thing. When Mike was speaking, it reminded me of something you said earlier to me this week about. You made the comment about when we were kids, we didn't know. How did you put it? You said.
I said when we were younger,
Mhm.
did you think the world would be like this when we grew up? Something similar to that.
And my response to you was, it was already like that. This didn't happen today or back in 2021. The world was the same when we were kids, but we just weren't aware of how the world worked. And I say that to say that because I'm on big picture in 2025, not just the individual offenses or circumstances. He has to clean this up in order to maintain his fan base to the NBA, because there's people that feel as strong as you do about the integrity of the game. So, in order to maintain some sense of fair competition or integrity, honesty, he's going to have to make a decision about this eventually. And there's a possibility that he may have to just nuke the whole organization and they start over from scratch. I don't know what those consequences may be. Donald Sterling had to sell. He had to sell the team. Uh, I don't know what those consequences may be for Kawhi. I think his contract may become void at that point, and the Lakers will be able to go ahead and sign him at that point. But
Does he become a pariah at that point though? What team wants to take him on and deal with the scrutiny that they may have to, and like the magnifying glass that they may have to then accept by having him on his team, because this could end up hurting his legacy? Does he even get signed?
I think the Lakers would sign him, and so I think a lot of teams would sign him. That's not only because he's a great player. The moral temperature we have currently in our society, it's a number of reasons why. I mean, it's just so much that would affect that decision. People who are fickle, we'll forget about that shit in less than a year or so. There's a number of reasons why I think he'll be able to maintain a career or have at least another team sign him. But I feel Cam is disappointed. I remember being like this when I started realizing how the world works. Just like, man, really? It's like it's hard to have and maintain integrity in a modern society we live in. But I'm not surprised at all that this is happening. Um, it's just another day for me. It's another Sunday, bro. And I'm sorry to hear that you. I feel like my OG tells me, like, when I discovered things, he's like, yeah, I already knew this, but I was just waiting on you to see what who It's like certain aspects in life that we have to come and be aware of on our own. And this is just one of those moments for you, Mr. Anthony. And
No, sports is sacred to
be
me,
all right.
man. Sports is absolutely sacred. Um, I and again, when I say nuke the team, that means move Balmer out, clear out the entire front office. They're going to lose 5 to 10 draft picks, and then void Kawhi's last extension. That's what I mean. The Clippers will still be around, but it's going to take them a while to get back on their feet. So that's what I'm looking for here. The NBA, all the sports have been cricket, but the NBA has been very blatant about being cricket and this bullshit 2 minute report that they do. It's ridiculous.
I hate that shit.
It's so stupid.
I hate that shit because the referees don't even get any reprimand for that. We don't ever hear of anything,
Right.
So it's like you can make these bad calls. You can say, okay, it doesn't, it's not going to necessarily change the outcome of the game, but here's where we were wrong. Well, tell me what you're doing to change it.
Right.
So my faith in the league has already been shooken and shaken, or however you want to say it. I have been blessed to follow the team that I follow because there's not a lot. Say what?
Have you though? I was making a joke. Go ahead, bro.
Yeah. No, I'm just saying because there hasn't been a lot of drama. It was a little bit last year, but wasn't a lot of drama with my team. But it's so much evidence, and even in the CBA bylaws, it states all you need is circumstantial evidence. It's so much evidence that he could use to just take them down once this investigation is over with from whatever bullshit law firm they're using. It just needs to happen, man. These next 6 months, it's gonna be something.
So you want the process to be expedited, is what you're saying?
No. It doesn't have to be expedited. Look, it took Pablo 7 months.
Maximum.
Yeah, it took Pablo 7 months to get all this. So with an official law firm, it'd probably take 5 to 6 months. But it's just, I guess, the anticipation of what the end game is going to be, because that's what I'm worried about.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what I'm worried about. Because if the 3 of us or the 4 of us with Bryce can see this shit, they should be able to see this shit too.
So can I throw something in here real quick?
Yeah.
So when you're talking about nuking the team, right?
Mm.
You're talking about taking draft picks away. Talking about having a superstar player being taken off the team.
Mm. At
that point, when you talk about the gambling side, the betting side, from us as individuals, from the public perspective, you're making the Clippers worse. They're going to suffer through a rebuild portion, right? I even go as deep as this to think, do they do that? Because if that's the case, Vegas is going to have a field day with these games, right? When it comes to the Clippers, either you're going to have a point spread that is absolutely ridiculous, or these guys, it doesn't go as bad as what we should hope that the punishment, because the punishment should fit the crime, right? And we're talking about We're talking about completely dismantling a team to a point. And all the, like, when you talk about the gambling side of it, it's going to be a heyday for us as people, as public, to put money on the opposite team and probably win. So at that point, Vegas loses money. It's like those are going to be the easiest games at that point. Like, I'm putting all my money on whoever the Clippers are playing because they don't have any draft picks. They're not going to get any superstars playing with them for a while. And not just that, but even in the free agency side, how many players are going to want to go to this team? Like, there, you've got that as well, where it's like, hey, I as a superstar could go over to the Clippers and help rebuild this a lot quicker, but I have to understand what I'm taking on because I have to accept the, a little bit of the burden of I'm going to be under a microscope at that point. But when you talk from a Vegas side, it's like, okay, how are we going to manipulate this to the point to where Vegas can still make money? So I think of it from that perspective as well, because this could open up a can of worms on that side. I mean, you've got different hands in the pot when it comes to the consequences and how the effect is going to trickle down into a whole bunch of different situations, So I'm just curious, like, should they go around and nuke the whole team? How is that going to end up being in the long run for everybody else, And not just that, but when talking about nuking the team, you do it 5 to 6 months after all this investigation is done. I mean, I don't necessarily think that that's fair for the rest of the league, because this team is going to play. Kawhi's when the season starts, if they take this long, that's why I was saying, like, it needs to, like, the consequence needs to be swift and it needs to happen quickly because the season's about to start. When you have, how can you be an opposing team playing against the Clippers with Kawhi on the floor being like, bro, you shouldn't even be here. Now you're a little bit more competitive right now than what you would be, than what you should be, because this consequence needs to come down. So, it's like, I don't know. There's many different avenues that my mind starts going with this, and outside of the box type options as well, where, like I'm saying, like, it could affect Vegas in the long run too.
Pat, what do you think about the Vegas thing?
Okay. I don't think that's at the top of their concerns right now. Although, I mean, money does affect the decision making. I don't think that's at the top of their priorities. It's wondering how it's going to affect people betting on the games and the whole gambling industry. I don't think that's part of their discussions at this point. I think they're just trying to salvage their reputation and make the best decision regarding the consequences of the people involved strictly in the NBA. So I don't know. I think maybe Mike values Las Vegas more than I do. Maybe you know a lot more about it than I do and its influence in the NBA. But I tend not to give it too much importance when it comes to the actual, the finalization of whatever the decision that Silva and the board of governors is going to make. As far as the fairness of Kawhi remaining in the NBA, though, there's other players that have similar deals currently. We just don't know about them. So, I don't feel like Kawhi remaining in the league or with the Clippers is going to affect the fairness of the competition as it currently stands. I'm sure LeBron got some extra money under the table. Luka, Jalen Brunson, Giannis, every star in the league got something.
So you just gave Pablo the invitation to see how y'all got looking.
Right. Investigate every team.
Hey, yes. Ain't no way Thanasis should be in the league, bro. You know what I'm saying? Like this ain't like that's why I like Gilbert. He's very honest. Gilbert Arenas. This shit ain't new, bro. And it's just new to y'all. But this is nothing new.
So we're gonna wrap it up soon. I got you, pal. We're gonna wrap it up soon. I think Vegas and the NBA. The NBA has an olive branch out to Vegas because we all know once LeBron retires, they're gonna get that expansion team over to Vegas, and he's gonna be a part of it. So I think the NBA and Vegas are gonna be okay. Y'all gonna look at this in a couple of years and be like, damn, Cam was right about that expansion team. All right.
No, you're right. They got the A's are gonna be there. They've got their stadium. The Raiders are already there.
Yep.
Yeah, they just need an NBA team. They already have an NHL team too. The only thing that they need is the NBA. So yeah, you're 100% right.
So like I said, just waiting on. Go ahead, Pat.
The Clippers are going to Vegas?
No.
That'll be an expansion team.
That'll be an expansion team. And LeBron James will be in the ownership group some kind of way. So with that said, do you think we're going to hear anything else next week, or do you think this thing is going to be on ice for the next 5 to 6 months?
I think this is the biggest story currently outside of the players. I mean, I haven't heard shit about the players. You got the Euro, the Euro tournament going on?
Yeah.
They out there hooping, and you don't really hear shit about that. So, yeah, man, this is going to keep going. Pablo is discovering new shit every day, and now that more people are aware of it, they're contributing too. So this shit is going to keep going until a bigger story takes over, definitely.
What do you think, buddy?
Well, we already saw him kind of possibly lead into the New York Knicks, so the attention might be pulled off of the Clippers for a while once the story exhausts itself. But that doesn't mean that another team isn't going to be thrown into the fire, and these stories continue to come out. Like if he were to take that green light to do every single team and find certain stuff, like this could be something he does throughout the whole season. You know what I mean? Like, but I don't think that that's the case. I think that the focus right now being the Clippers, that's going to exhaust itself at some point, either from Pablo's perspective because he has no more information to give because he's given enough already. But that doesn't necessarily mean that there's not another. I don't want to use that. That's too it's too soon for that. But there's not going to be another team in his scope. You know. Who knows? I mean, it took 5 to 6 months for all this information to come out from his sources. If he can streamline and get something going with the Knicks, that could also come out. You know what I mean? So it's like, who knows what's next after that? The Clippers is just the tip of the iceberg.
Look, like I say, all the Knicks fans are scared shitless.
The league is scared, Cat. Not just the Knicks. The league.
Yeah, I think that's a fair point, Pat. I think everybody is kind of like you said from a fan perspective, Cam, looking from a integrity side, but also from the NBA side, looking from the fear that this stuff is this accurate. What are we going to get found out, or are we going to be next? Yeah, every team should be afraid. And I'm curious, like. I kind of step back and I look at these contracts that are being offered, and I can't help but feel like I wonder if Boston is, there's something going on with Boston. How are you going to sit there and involve two individuals with over $500 million in two contracts, right? Like you guys, I'm not saying they're circumventing, but what are you guys doing? What's that stuff on that side that allows you to be able to afford this and still stay competitive with the rest of your team?
Well, that goes back to Boston having to make some moves this offseason to afford to have those contracts out there. So if I'm Boston and I see what the Clippers are doing, now I'm mad because I had to break up my championship team when I just did some shady shit that y'all did.
Yeah.
you get what I'm saying?
Yeah. It could go both ways.
Yeah. I was going to say, though, I might have to send a memo to South Beach and tell Pablo
Yeah.
to look into the Orlando Magic because
Yeah.
I want them gone. They need to be erased. So
Yeah. I'm gonna give Tyler Hero $28 million through
Look, nah, don't do
Cuban Sandwiches Incorporated. You know, you never.
This is one thing I can guarantee. The Miami Heat will not be investigated by Pablo Torre. I can guarantee you that. Miami Dade ain't gonna let that happen. I guarantee that. So, with that said, we're gonna wrap it up for this week's episode of the Hardwood Nature Podcast. Please like, subscribe, and share our content. Drop comments below. Everyone stay safe, and we are out.